10.
One of the deadliest prison riots in U.S. history happened here in New Mexico. You've probably heard a lot about the death and destruction that occurred at the old state penitentiary.
But tonight, a former inmate who survived while many did not explains how the rampage started. He shared his story exclusively with Action 7 News reporter Ana Velasquez.
In 1980, Gary Nelson, a convicted bank robber, escaped from another state prison. When police caught up with him in New Mexico, prison officials held him at the state penitentiary in cell block 2.
What's it like to be back here?
I'm kind of over it. I've moved on in my life. It's good to know that I can leave at any time.
In the early morning hours of February 2nd, 1980, he says some inmates were getting drunk on homemade alcohol. One prisoner had an idea.
Jumped up and had been drinking, said, look, when they come to count, if they leave that door open, we're going to jump them and take over this place.
They were the prison guards, but Nelson didn't believe that inmate.
I'd been in prison before I got here, and it happened, usually what happens is nothing.
Nelson wasn't sentenced to serve time here. He was just waiting to be transferred to another prison. On February 2nd, 1980, this was his 30th day. Gary, was it just unbelievable?
It's surreal. It really is surreal. I could say that most of the time I'm just apprehensive. I can't say I'm scared.
Action 7 News was on scene during the 36-hour ordeal, covering the riot from the outside.
10-9?
On the inside, inmates had already taken 12 officers hostage.
So this is the hallway where the prisoners dragged Officer Bustos down.
Well, they're leading him. He's on a belt, like a leash, like a dog. He's on his knees, and they're kicking him.
In all, 33 inmates were murdered. Most were the so-called snitches, hunted down where they lived in cell block 4. Countless others were injured.
You got people running around out here, stabbing people to see what it feels like to stab people. You got people stabbing dead bodies. I mean, it's nuts here.
But Nelson says even more fear set in when they thought police and the National Guard were going to storm the prison.
So, I mean, you're always fearful, but we just said, well, what can you do? I just couldn't bring myself to walk up there to the gate and saying I surrender. I mean, I was where I was supposed to be, and if they wanted the prison back, they could come get it anytime they wanted.
Eventually, Nelson and other surviving inmates did surrender. And as tough as it is to walk us through this dark piece of New Mexico history, Nelson says his story and others needs to be told.
I mean, what happened here was a tragedy. We don't want to be doomed to repeat the same mistakes of the past.
Survivor stories are captured on new videos now being shown during tours of the old state penitentiary. Ana Velasquez, KOAT, Action 7 News.
Now, after Nelson finished serving his time, he went on to be a criminal defense attorney. He is now retired.
An interesting man. I mean, the way he explains everything, and then he became a lawyer.
Yes.
Yeah, of all things.
Yeah, exactly.
And it must be. He talked about a little bit there about going inside those walls again. It had to really bring back a lot of tragic memories for him.
It really did. Walking into the prison, he was kind of walking me through. This is where I saw everybody in zip ties. This is where we saw this happening and that happening, and that's why I asked him, do you like being back here or not? And he goes, you know what, I like being here, but I know I can leave anytime I want now.
Yeah, different from last time. What a
Right.
perspective.
The doors shut and the prisoners are inside. They don't get out.
Yeah.
On this episode of Albuquerque Gangland, we'll be profiling the prison gang or group Los Carnales. The prison group Los Carnales was formed in the mid to late 1970s. An inmate from the California prison gang called Nuestra Familia, with assistance from Arnold Melon, Gilbert Gutierrez, and Steve Pollo Baca and Animo Martinez, formed the first prison gang inside the New Mexico Department of Corrections. This group took the name Nuestra Familia, and total membership of the gang was approximately 75 strong. Arnold Melon took the initial leadership role, of the organization. Gilbert Gutierrez was the enforcer, and Steve Pollo Baca was the organization's main drug supplier. Gilbert Gutierrez then took over the leadership role from Arnold Melon. Steve Pollo Baca won the leadership role and subsequently placed a hit on Gilbert Gutierrez. But the NF, our family thing wasn't working well for them in the New Mexico prison systems. So, in 1978, inmates Ricky Garcia, Sammy Mascarenes, Vincent Paul Candelaria, and Lorenzo Chavez formed Los Carnales, or LC, within the New Mexico Department of Corrections. The prison gang was formed as a safety and numbers concept and to unify and protect LC members from other Hispanic inmates. Los Carnales is still predominantly Hispanic with the strong support of the other Caucasian inmates. Although smaller in size today than their rivals S&M or Sindicato de Nuevo Mexico, Los Carnales is known to demonstrate methodical and calculating activities. The gang is split between the older generation and the younger generation in a power struggle. The younger LCs are led by a Robert Demon Young and a Rise Lopez and have displayed violence towards staff, with many killings of correctional officers and hits upon other inmates and staff. Los Carnales have been shipped out of state and are sometimes found throughout the BOP system and different federal holding systems and state systems as they are broken up and sent out of state. Again, this is Los Carnales, New Mexico original prison gang, level 3 STG, they're from the STG group in New Mexico prison systems. Got a picture of NF guys here because you heard in the beginning there they come from Nuestra Familia originally. Got this guy right here, one of their members has the LC on his cheek. And let's remember, this is not a street gang, though they have been classified as a street gang due to a lot of the members, being from prison on the streets. They are a prison gang. So again, this is Los Carnales. They actually click with Sureños in the New Mexico Department of Corrections as they have a common enemy, which is going to be S&M. These guys are bitter rivals with Sindicato de Nuevo Mexico. But these guys are solid, and they're more so their quality, not quantity type group. Smaller group, but and silent, very hard to come across any type of photos of them, any taggings, pictures. They move in silence, But again, Los Carnales. And I'm going to be doing a whole bunch of episodes still coming on this Albuquerque Gangland. We got Barelas coming, Burqueños, Duranes, bunch of neighborhoods still coming. So you guys make sure you hit that subscribe, you hit that like. You see some pictures of a bunch of New Mexico inmates here lined up on the gate. And I went ahead and did the news clip in the beginning here of the New Mexico riots. And I did that because those happened, in the 80s, and S&M and LCers, which is where the video here, Los Carnales, were going strong. These are two of the main prison gangs that were actually in the Yarda when these riots happened. So I went ahead and put that news clip there in the beginning. And again, Los Carnales. I can see your late jockey, Mr. Angelo 505, I ain't stopping. 505, we reppin' New Mexico. This is where I live and I'm never gonna go. In the city of the Duke with the motherfucking gangsters. Where the players like to play and the ball stack that dough. 505, we reppin' New Mexico. This is where I live and I'm never gonna go. In the city of the Duke with the motherfucking gangsters. Where the players like to play and the ball stack that dough. Got my windows rolled down with the Glock in the ride. CD in the deck and it's bumping 505. If you're from Albuquerque, we keeping it live. With the dark tinted windows and the grills on the side. Riding slow and mean, kicking back with a lean. And we're staying fucking high, yeah, you know what I mean. So if you ever see me rolling in, boom, get down. I'll have a drunk in my mouth with the windows rolled down. And your chick by my side, cause you know how I ride. Front, back, side to side, this is for the 505. If you represent the Nuevo, throw your fives in
in the sky, cause I'm super shadow, sequel to the day that I die.